My friend here, complete and utter dingus. ELO 935. No, this guy's ELO 10 with the way he's playing. I've got this absolutely wonderful game, and I want to talk about it because my friend's movement in this game it's honestly a work of art. So we're playing on Archipelago. We've got Kiku. It's a Kiku mirror match. One would think, oh, okay, maybe we're gonna see some water play. Maybe we're gonna see some markets, because Kiku's got some pretty good forests. Maybe we're gonna maybe we're gonna see a pretty interesting naval battle on an interesting map. I've actually never played that much Archipelago, so I'm not that well versed in it. But surely this can only go well, right? 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 Turn 0, they move, and they buy one fish, and then they end their turn. You had the stars to fish here as well. Did you not see the fish? Why are we not leveling up your city? Turn 0, the number one thing you want to be doing is leveling up your city. But okay, sure, I guess we make a mistake there. Then turn 2 happens. Turn 2 happens. That was a fast turn. I'm sorry, what did you do? You bought a warrior, and then, no, you didn't even buy a warrior. You collected your stars, moved your warrior, and then you finished. You could be fishing. Fishing is a great idea. If I fish, then, ladies and gentlemen, I've got more stars per turn. Sure, why not? Well, the next thing they do is they move their rider, and then that's it. You want to know what they buy? They buy ramming. They buy ramming. Why are we buying ramming on turn 2? You want to know what ramming unlocks? The rammer. Wow, wonderful. What does this do for you early game? Do you know what I have over here? I mean, you don't know what I have over here, because I'm keeping the fog on specifically my friend here. But I've probably got like two, maybe three warriors. That's it. You do not need ramming. You do not need to be going on the offensive. You need to be building up income. Because what do you need? What do you need? Let's think about what you need. You need more vision, because this is a tiny amount of vision. You need more cities. At the very least, you've got that down with this village you're about to capture. You need more cities. You need more units so that you actually have an army to fight with. And I kind of get that the rammer is part of that, but the rammer is expensive. That's way, way too expensive for your 2 stars per turn. 2 stars! What are you doing? Instead, you should be exploring out over here. You should be moving around over here. You should be moving over here. And then he does that. Look at how much longer my turns are. Clearly there are more things you could be doing by this point if you hadn't completely wasted these first couple of turns. This is like a nothing turn. This is like a this is an okay turn, actually. This is a really good turn. This Hey, fine, whatever. Whatever. This actually would be a good turn. Actually, this is only okay. This would be a good turn if you were like raiding your city, but you're not. And then you buy one fish, get one pop, and then that's it. You've just got one population in this city and one population on this city. Why aren't you like getting a population on this city? Getting one population does absolutely nothing for you. It does absolutely nothing. So then we decide to move in your very next turn, your warrior up, and end the turn. Are we saving for something? Again, upgrade your cities. You need those cities upgraded. You need more stars per turn. One of the most important city upgrades that you get is the level 2 city, because the level 2 city gives you an additional star per turn, which at this current stage in the game, one additional star per turn, that's an increase of 33%. That is an absolutely massive increase in stars per turn. And then, you can buy a forge, right? Like that's one of the upgrades. You can totally buy a forge, and a forge gives you an additional star per turn. You would be up 66% if you spent 2 stars on fishing. But you didn't. So then we go to the very, very next turn. You what? Why? 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 What is the reason of this port? What is the reason of this port? Don't get me wrong. Port cool. Port allow water access. Port give pop. Population good. Forge good. At the very least, he did actually get a forge there. I don't know how to show what they selected on the upgrade, but at the very least, you did get a forge there. I do see that forge right in this window here. Oh, look, little tiny forge. Cool. But like, you could have done this on turn 0 by buying this fish. Heck, if you had done it on turn 0, then you want to know what you would have ended up by the end of turn 0? You would have ended up with 4 stars per turn. That is double the stars per turn on turn 2, and you can scale from there. Wow, wonderful. 10 out of 10 decision making here, but instead you decide to buy a port, because I guess you need water access. Water access can come later. Stars per turn is your biggest priority in the first, like, couple of turns in the game, because 2 stars per turn, that's nothing. Nothing. So, I wonder what their big plan is here. So, I guess let's continue. That's a pretty okay turn. You can't do anything to this city because you spent all of your stars on your port here. That would have been helpful, but we've already been over that. And you buy another warrior. This is actually the first okay turn. You're moving your warrior up to maybe clear this fog. Maybe you want to clear this fog. Maybe you want to get onto this port and explore this fog over here or over here. That's kind of an okay turn. That's the first okay turn. And then we have this legendary play. What are you doing here? Your rammer has a movement of 3 tiles in 1 turn. How many tiles can this rammer go? I see, 1. Maybe here. Maybe here. Here wouldn't be bad, because at the very least you'd be getting this tile, this tile, this tile, this tile, and this tile. That's 5 tiles in 1 turn, so that wouldn't be a bad spot to move your rammer if you were going specifically for vision. But, like, are we aware of how expensive a rammer is? That's 5 entire stars. That's your entire stars per turn right now. You could be investing in more units. The more units you have, the more vision you have. That's good. The more stars per turn you have, the more you can invest in more things on the tech tree. You have no reason to be buying this rammer. No reason. You have no reason to go on the offensive. Then we have this wonderful play. Sailing. Why are we getting sailing? The most important thing early game is to get literally any city to level 3. And the reason why you want to get your cities to level 3 is because at level 2, you get the Forge. The Forge ripples a city's income, double if it's your capital. And then at level 3, Level 3, you get another 33% boost from that city. That's pretty good. And then you get just 5 stars instantly. 5 stars to do whatever you want with. You could upgrade the city and then get the rammer. You could upgrade the city and then get something in the tech tree. You could upgrade the city and buy some units. Notice how you can upgrade the city and also do other things. Because, get this, level 3 is a really, really good upgrade. Instead you're buying whatever. Whatever. Turn 9. Okay. So a lot just happened. You started with capturing this ruin. You get population. You buy a wall. Where are the enemy units on your... Where are the enemy units for you to be buying a wall for? What does this wall do? Are you afraid of when I have units? If you're afraid of when I have units, you should be worrying about stars per turn, so that you can afford an army. Have you ever considered that? Have you ever considered buying units so that you can see vision? I'm talking about the same thing over and over and over again, aren't I? He then moves the rammer, unlocking 4 tiles and finding a village. That's pretty good. Then he buys a warrior. Honestly, okay turn. I can see why you would want to buy a warrior here. Maybe you want to unlock this lighthouse, that's a free population. Maybe you want to explore over here, except don't explore this. Here, this is a beach tile. I know this is a beach tile because this is an ocean tile, so this has to be a beach tile. And then, maybe you want to go over here. Except don't go over here, because I can already tell, based off of this beach tile here, I can already tell that there's no land here. There might be land here. That means there's no way to get over here. And there's probably a city here. Probably. So, this is actually an okay turn. Then we go to turn 10. Oh, what's on turn 10? I am at a loss for words. Why would you sacrifice the 5 stars you put into this rammer on putting it on land? Are you afraid of the army? What army? It's turn 10. Actually, turn 10, if it's a smaller map, by turn 10, there can be plenty of army. But, like, a rammer is not going to defend an army. It's just not. And then you sacrifice the rammer to put it on a village. That rammer could have gotten to this village as a raft. You could have gone from here to here to here to here to here. This is Archipelago. In Archipelago, there's loads of beach tiles everywhere. Beach tile here, 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 beach tile here. This beach tile has a light face right here. This tells you that there is land here. Land means beach tile means either land here, which you can actually see based off of the light section of this beach tile. So we've got land here and we've got land here. That means beach tile here. That means beach tile here. That could mean beach tile over here. You could move all the way through with a raft over here. Same concept over here, where there's loads of stuff. You could have gone from here to here to here, and then you could have unlocked the stuff over here. But okay, sure, we're going to waste the 5 stars that we put all of our money in on putting a warrior on land. Now, around turn 10, putting a unit on a new piece of land. I don't hate that idea. But the issue here is that you've only got 6 stars per turn. You cannot waste those 5 stars on moving the unit here. You should be taking that rammer. Which, by the way, I believe he got nav. No, he didn't get nav. He got sailing. You got sailing so that you can move on ocean tiles. Cool. Then he moves his warrior. That's okay. Then he moves his warrior down, unlocking a lighthouse and getting a population. And then he gets a second warrior. The rest of this turn is just fine, actually. But if you notice, by this point in time in the game, look at the point difference. I am double what you did. Double. If I am double the points of what my friend did here, then you know that spending all of those stars at the start on upgrading cities is what's worth it in the end. Because I've spent all of my stars at this point. Heck, let's turn on my map so we can see what my map looks like right now. It's turn 10. And I've got a giant already. That is huge. I can do so much pushing with this giant, and you want to know how I got this giant? A level 5 city, by investing in stars per turn. I've got a raft that's about to move onto this village over here. That's great. I've got this warrior who's about to examine. I've got this warrior who's about to move onto this village. I've got this raft who I can do any number of things with. I can explore over here, I can explore over here, I can put the raft here. Plenty of things to do, and instead you've got this, because you did not invest in stars per turn at the start. Let's keep going. Honestly, first impressions, okay turn. It's actually an okay turn. You leveled up a city, you got the forge, good. Always think about getting the forge. The forge is always a wonderful upgrade. Wonderful upgrade. However, by turn 11, I am going to start to be building up an army. We're starting to transition into mid-game, and being able to see that army coming would be nice. So, honestly, I think that an explorer would have been just as good here. You move a unit onto the water, I guess taking full advantage of the water. I guess you see all of the water and you go, ooh, water. But a unit can still move across the land. Like, a unit can still get from here to here in 1, 2, 3, 4 turns. It's not the best, especially when I can from here to 1, 2 turns. So I can see what you were thinking. Your spawn isn't the best. Okay, sure, whatever. This is actually the first okay turn. This is another confusing turn. Why are we buying organization? If we are buying organization, then we're looking for fruits. We've got one fruit here, we've got a fish here, so that's a level. There's a level here. So I can kind of see this. But how many stars is organization? 8. You spent 8 stars on organization. Let's think about some other ways to level up a city. So let's go back to before you got organization. If I wanted to level up this city, I could spend a 2 stars here on fishing. I could then buy a port. That's 9 stars. And that adds a population here. Then I could go up to 12 stars spent to buy fishing, and that's a level up for this city right now, instead of having to buy organization and then wait an additional turn. This is efficient use of stars. Alright. Big turn, big turn. Ladies and gentlemen, this man has enough stars per turn and enough units to start actually doing things. First thing he did is some exploring with this warrior. Then he took the scout and he moved the scout up. That's actually really, really good that you're trying to find as many things as possible. That's always, always wonderful. Moves a unit onto the water. I can see wanting to get another scout to maybe get some vision over anywhere, frankly. I'm not gonna say which is the best, but there you go. Move a raft onto a city. This is really, really good, actually, that you didn't buy a rammer to move a unit onto a city that you didn't know was there. In fact, you were up an additional 5 stars because of that. Whoa! Oh my goodness. Rafts can move pretty quickly on the water? Yes, rafts can move pretty quickly on the water. I know, shocker. Level up the city, get a forge, and then you run out of stars. Not terrible. Let's continue. Okay, that was a turn and a half. First thing you did is capture the city. Then you move the raft from here to here. So I don't really understand this move from port to ruin. It's not a bad move by any means, but I personally would recommend moving the warrior to this tile and then to this tile. And the reason why I would recommend that is because that will get your brain out of the playing on the I'm playing Kiku, I have to play on the water mind virus. Because there is a mind virus that all people who play Kiku suffer from, where they think that they have to play on the water. I don't actually know this. This is just a thing I'm saying, but it's a thing that I suffered from personally. The mind virus of, oh my goodness, Kiku starts with fishing. This must mean Kiku is the water tribe. Not necessarily true. A tribe has so many more dimensions than just one. Then he moves the scout from there to there. Not a terrible move on paper, trying to expand. However, at this point, you are starting to get towards this middle half of the map here. If I draw an invisible line across half of the map between me up here and my friend over here, you want to start to be careful when you go up to and past that line, because you are going to start to see enemy units. But it's a bit of a gamble. So, I guess my friend likes gambling. Then my friend here upgrades the city and puts up another wall? What is the purpose of the wall? The best part of these early level 3 cities is the 5 stars that you get flat. Those are pretty dang good. Because they help you build up and scale more. You would want a wall on, say, this city, because this city is in danger. You would want a wall on this city if you saw some units over here, or if you saw me over here. That would be a valid use. Then he buys Warrior, and he buys Nav. Nav is a weird choice. You could get an additional several stars per turn by doing some fishing. You could upgrade your capital by doing some more fishing in this city. You could get other stuff. I'm not real sure what the plan is here, so let's find out what the plan is. Okay, so he then sees something interesting. What I decide to do to answer this guy here is to move my scout away. I then hit with my rider, and then I road take the city. That is an issue. And now I'm taking this city. You've got you've got nothing you can do to deal with this warrior. So now you've got to come up a plan against an army that's probably going to be coming in from this city. You have to start worrying about that now. Do you have the stars per turn to worry about that? Well, maybe. Maybe. Let's see what my friend's decision is here. He gets aquaticism from the ruin, which honestly is really, really good because that's a tier 3 tech, that's 19 stars, and I guarantee that my friend here would have bought aquaticism with 19 stars had he not got it. So that was actually really, really good. Mostly because it prevents him from making a stupider mistake. Sorry, Artemis, but you don't need aquaticism until people are in the water. People are in the water, but people aren't fighting in the water yet. My friend then gets another forge, that's good. Does some exploring. Okay turn, but you ended with 2 stars. You could do some fishing. You could do some organization. Why did you buy organization if you're not going to harvest the fruit? Go harvest the fruit. But no, we're just gonna sit on 2 stars. Maybe, but maybe, his plan is to do something with those 2 stars. Let's find out. Starting with my decision. Okay. First thing I do is I send a giant in. This is a serious threat, and you need to take care of it ASAP. You need some sort of force to deal with this giant. A juggernaut, if you will, is really, really weak to land-based attacks, and this is archipelago, meaning you have plenty of land squares to work with on a land-based invasion against a giant. The reason why juggernauts in the water are weak against land-based invasions, or just invasions in general, I guess, is because they may have splash damage, but they have stiff. Stiff means that they do not retaliate when they're attacked. This juggernaut cannot fight back, and so any damage against it is free damage. And they are 2 turns away from your city and you did not see them coming. That is a problem. And you need to be worrying about this threat ASAP, along with covering up, along with securing some vision on the left side of the map here, because clearly I am there, and that is a problem. Who are you? I don't know who you are. Go away. I've never seen that username before. It's probably a bot. I then take the city. You see me make a forge. That's good. And I move a unit here. It's 3 units now that you can kind of see me working with. This unit might be too far away, might not be, you never know. Let's see how my friend here decides to play. Okay, this is part 1 of what is probably the biggest throw in the whole game outside of the rammer start. The rammer start was easily the biggest throw. What are you doing? What are you doing with the rammer start? I can't believe I'm still caught up about that rammer start. Turn 16. Rammer start was ages ago. That was at the start. So you have no reason to be moving a raft here. I think the idea was to put a bomber somewhere in an offensive position, but I'll tell you a trade secret about the bomber that will make you 90 times more efficient with it. The bomber is a defensive unit, and you can tell it's a defensive unit because it's stiff, meaning it does not retaliate when it's attacked, and it does not have the dash ability. If a unit has the dash ability, it's an offensive unit. If it doesn't have the stiff ability, it's an offensive unit. This is a defensive unit. It might sound really cool to put a unit with splash damage really far forward in the front, but a bomber costs 15 stars and only has the amount of health of the unit you put into the bomber. So this is a 10 HP bomber that you spent 15 stars on and is now weak to land-based attacks due to having stiff. You did this next to a warrior. What do you think the warrior is going to do on the very next turn? Moving on from the blunder over in the northeast of this guy's base, let's talk about this next action. Healing. You should never heal on the front line unless you are planning to tank. You should be focusing more on the vision behind this juggernaut by upgrading this to a scout if you had the stars. If you hadn't spent so many on this blunder, you could have upgraded to a scout to see all of these tiles over here. Wow, you could have seen so many tiles. You could see any potential threats before they're on your doorstep. Where is your doorstep? Your doorstep are the tiles just barely outside of your base. If you are healing, you are either in the back line where you are safe and can heal from full, or you are in the front line and you think you can tank a hit in order to stall the enemy. You are doing neither with this, so instead it's just a reckless heal. Then, my friend buys a warrior, actually remembers to buy a fruit for once in his life, gets population. That's not a half bad option, honestly. And then moves this warrior down. I don't know why you're moving this warrior down. If I am here, you want to get, it is a race to this corner of the map. It is a race, and you need a warrior over here ASAP. I can kind of see the logic. Since you saw me a couple of turns ago move a scout over here, I can kind of see the logic of, oh, I would be at a disadvantage. Honestly, the logic there sounds pretty solid. I'm not going to argue against it. If that was your plan, great plan, great plan. I have no complaints about this rider movement. Let's see how I retaliate. Wow, who would have guessed? I hit the thing that's weak against land attacks. Okay. So I do a lot of very, very powerful things in this very, very explosive turn. I hit the bomber. I level up the city from level 2 to level 3. Right? Level 2, level 3. I reveal for you some waterway pathways, which tells you that I have more access to the water over in this direction and over in somewhere over here. That's pretty good information, actually. And information is a form of money in this game. And then I spend money on a sawmill. This sawmill tells you that I currently have mathematics. You saw me with a scout earlier. This means that I went across this section of the tech tree and this section of the tech tree. This likely means I am planning on having some form of water attack that is supported by land units. Catapults are pretty good and really, really hard to push into because it's a defensive unit. This is what you should have been doing with this bomber. Instead of moving it forward, you should have kept it back so that it could support your front line, because that is what a defensive unit is best used for. Then I buy a port, telling you that I want more water access. I'm coming into the water. Maybe that's not really what I was doing. What was I doing? Just leveling up a city. Okay, but it's still a threat. It's still a threat. You should pretend that I'm coming under the water right now. Because if you are prepared for the worst case scenario, you're good. This can, however, lead to you not making enough risks. Learn what risks you like taking. Sawmill goes to level 2. And I move the Juggernaut. Sawmill level 2 is kind of scary. Mostly because I know what I was doing here. I know what the plan was. It gave me pop. And as I went over in the start, population is everything. Then my Juggernaut movement, that's pretty standard. The reason why I move my Juggernaut here is because this puts a lot of pressure on this city and this city. I can now really, really quickly, with just this Juggernaut, take out this city. Especially since this warrior hit this bomber. Fun fact about units in this game, they deal less damage the less health they have. It does not matter what this attack stat says, the attack stat is still relative. And a unit on 1 HP with 5 attack is still not going to deal a whole lot of damage compared to a unit with 3 attack but 15 health. So you always want to be trying to protect a unit like a bomber, which could deal upwards of like 15 damage. What could it have dealt to the bomber? See, if this bomber, 10 HP, had hit the Juggernaut, it would have dealt 6 damage. Now that it's weakened, this bomber only deals 4 damage because it was weakened by the warrior. This is why it's so important to keep backline units in the back where they can be supported by frontline units like the warrior. How on earth is my friend here going to fight back against a Juggernaut that is now right on top of the city? Right on top. And that was part 2 of the worst throw in this game. Why? What purpose does this serve? Why are we moving the Juggernaut? Why are we moving the Bomber? Which has 3 range. 3 range. Let's count that out from this tile. 1, 2. Oh my goodness, that's 2 tiles instead of 3. This means the Bomber could have hit. It really could have hit. If I click on the Bomber, you can see all in blue all the places where the Bomber can go. You can still hit. You can back up. Backing up would actually be the best play here. Because if you back up and your Bomber moves on one of these 2 tiles, ocean tiles, where is my Navy? How am I, as a player, going to defend against a bomber that is, say, on your port? On your port would probably be currently the best place to put this bomber. And the reason why is because if you put the bomber on the port, you know that my Juggernaut is about to push. It's got 38 HP. This warrior's really, really weak. It doesn't really have anywhere to go. I'm probably going to push with this Juggernaut. And the Juggernaut has a movement of 2. This means the Juggernaut can go 1, 2 turns. It then splashes. If we open this up, we can see it has Stomp, damage all surrounding units when moving. That means that the Juggernaut would move 1, 2 spaces and then hurt these 3 tiles. So if you move this bomber to this port, you might not be able to use the port anymore, or if you move it onto the fish, that would also be really good in case you wanted to, say, use the port. That would be really, really good. Because that means that my Juggernaut is now walking into your bomber, which is huge. That is what you want for a defensive unit. With a defensive unit, you want the opponent to be walking into you. You don't want to walk into the opponent. Because a defensive unit is heavily, heavily detrimented when it walks forward. So, why are you walking forward? You have no reason to be walking forward. You should be walking back if you're going to be moving, and attacking this warrior if you aren't moving. He upgrades this raft to a rammer. I don't know why you didn't just do this sooner if your plan was to attack the Juggernaut, because the Juggernaut has the splash ability. What are you thinking? Now you've just got a really, really weak unit. You can't see my army that I could have behind these clouds. You don't know. And now this unit can't get into the water. Why would you want this unit to be in the water? The reason why you might want this warrior into the water is because this warrior is on 5 hit points. Let's look at this Juggernaut and see how much damage it does to the warrior. Oh! That's a skull. That means that my Juggernaut can currently kill your warrior. You need a new unit on top of this village now, on this turn. Otherwise, I am taking that city right now. So you need either a new port to move this unit onto that water space, or you need this port free. So, okay, maybe your decision is to buy a rammer, move onto this tile to unlock these 3 tiles, just to see if there's any more units of mine coming this way, and then attack the water unit. Nope, you're just gonna deal 1 damage, by the way. Because rammers don't deal any damage when they are on 1 hit point. Okay, where's the port? Where's the port? You need a new unit on this city this turn, or I am taking it. No port. No port. None whatsoever. At the very least, my friend here does move a warrior in to attack the Juggernaut. That is good. That is wonderful. He buys another unit. That's also good. That's wonderful. He moves this unit onto a port. Except you should probably be focusing on exploring more land out of curiosity. So out of curiosity, if you turn off fog, you can see that there's a village over here. And you would know that there is a village over here if you play enough of this game. You can kind of get a feel for roughly how far apart a village is. I don't know exactly how far apart villages are from each other, but it's generally somewhere with like a 2 to 3 tile space between them. So you can see 2 tiles between this city and this city. This one is like a really, really far one. I think these are called suburbs. That's why they're so close. This one's kind of an outskirt. You can see over here 2 tiles, another 2 tiles, another 2 tiles. This is the outskirt city. You've got 2 tiles. So, you could be looking for more cities. You could be buying an army. This is not a bad decision if you want to buy a rammer, but he doesn't buy the rammer. Instead, he puts a second unit in the water, and you really, really don't want to be putting more units in the water than you can afford, and you don't have any stars per turn because you wasted the 5 on capturing this city. Why are you capturing a city that's 3 tiles away? Don't answer that. I know the answer. It's because that's what was there. Then, ladies and gentlemen, this city, he finally remembers to upgrade the southernmost city. Everybody give a round of applause. You don't have a new warrior here. You just don't. That means that I'm capturing this city this turn. Unfortunate for you. So let's watch this play out. Okay, that is really, really bad for you. Not only have you lost this city, which by the way reduces your stars on this turn. You cannot earn stars from a city that is being sieged. This is the second I move a unit over onto this city here, I reduce your number of stars per turn. I also killed your bomber you worked so hard on, and your rammer you worked so hard on to get that super, super important 1 damage off. Spicy. 5 stars for 1 damage? Now that's what I call quality use of stars. Anyway, new giant shows up. That's a lot of pressure. On what? You don't have an army to fight this. You just don't. Where is your army, sir? Where is your army? You then can see that this connection changes, telling you that I'm now over here. I just have... There's a city somewhere on one of these tiles, and I just have it. Maybe it's here, maybe it's over here, maybe it's here, maybe it's here. You don't know where it is, but this water tile tells you that I'm expanding my borders directly onto your doorstep now. That is a problem. And you can't see what I'm about to send your way. And there's a giant on your doorstep. And where's your army? You were looking for a water-based invasion, but you spent so many stars on a water army that you then wasted on your own foolishness on landing that army again, that now you have nothing when I send 2 giants after you. Interestingly, this water connection goes back. So this right here, this connection is actually a connection that's like really, really quick. That's a blink and you'll miss it connection. I then upgrade this city, and the connection moves. This water tile means that there is an even closer port, like right here, meaning there's like a city on one of these 2 tiles, and I'm about to attack you with it. This warrior then uses roads to get to that point. That is how a unit with a speed of 1 ends up getting onto that tile. Then I put a port here, and you see so many water connections. Oh boy. I'm everywhere! And you can't see what I'm cooking. You just can't. So, I have potentially an army, and you don't know what's coming, and you don't even have the stars to buy an army if you knew what was coming. And I put this warrior into the water. Maybe I'm going to go explore over here. Remember when I sent a unit over here? Maybe I'm going to go check that out now. Maybe I'm trying to corner you now. That's scary. Anyway, your turn. What are you gonna do? Okay. Move the raft, and I guess the raft is moved now. Okay, sure. Upgrade this to a bomber. Not bad! Congratulations! This is a defensive use of a bomber. That's really good. Move a warrior off of a city. Not a bad idea. Buy a new warrior. Also not a bad idea. Buy a new warrior. But there's an issue with this turn. And that is that this juggernaut, it can't fight. It can't fight back. Because it is your turn, and this is a unit with stiff. You should be using this warrior to fight this thing. Wow. Oh my goodness. 2 free damage. You so need that free damage because you don't have an army. Honestly, what I would personally recommend here is trying your best. Instead of spending 16 whole stars on one quality unit, numbers is pretty decent. Rammers deal a lot of damage, and you have rammers. So my recommendation, get some rammers. Get some rammers as soon as possible. Let's see how this plays out. Okay. That went from pretty bad, but maybe salvageable if you play this like really, really well. Probably not, though. You should probably be, at this point, frankly, you should consider resigning, in my opinion. To very bad. Very, very bad. Very, very bad. Very, very fast. I am no longer on your doorstep. That's not good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 juggernauts. 6. You have no army. At this point, I've won the game. There is nothing you can do to beat 6 juggernauts. It turns pretty quickly. Moving the warrior off and then fighting, not a bad idea. Moving this unit up and then turning it into a bomber. That's bad, because that is being offensive to the defensive unit. Moving this unit into the water, that's okay, but you've now spent all of your stars per turn on this. A raft has a movement of 2. You could go 1, 2, turn it into a rammer, then hit. Then you could hit this unit here. And that would actually deal as much damage as a bomber would, just to 1 unit. Next turn. In your next turn, you kill one of my rafts. That's really good. That's super good, actually, that you managed to kill one of my units. Then a bomber hit on a really, really peculiar target. Why are you hitting this guy? Why are you hitting this guy? I genuinely, genuinely, I want to know what the thought process was here. Because I don't get it. I don't get it. If you hit this unit, you deal damage to this unit, and to this unit, and to this unit. That's just more damage. Doesn't matter that this guy's lower and takes more damage. He's lower and takes more damage, and therefore an attack here will deal plenty of damage to this guy anyway. You don't need to deal damage to the southernmost giant by attacking him directly. You can just attack the giant on your city and deal as much damage as possible. You're just shooting yourself in the foot here. Move the warrior up. Does he hit? He does. Move the warrior up, hit, that's good. Buy 2 new warriors, also not a bad strategy. And buy another warrior. Good job, you are making an army. It's too late, I'm in your front door. No, I'm in your living room. No, I took a city. I've got multiple giants. I'm in your kitchen. Hmm. 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 He thinks this is bad. Me thinks this is very bad. Me thinks that maybe somebody should have invested in more stars. But you know what? Let's go down, run this down one step at a time. Moving a warrior onto this island. Not good. Do not do this. Why? Because it's just free for taking now. It just is. A unit here, like this Juggernaut can kill him, this Juggernaut can kill him, this Juggernaut can move here and then splash hurt him, and then this Juggernaut can move here and splash damage hurt him. Moving a unit here is actually just a waste of stars. The unit should be moved backwards to this city. Because that way, when I inevitably move, because that way you can buy a unit here, and then when I inevitably move my giants in towards this city, you have a unit here, and then you have an extra unit that you can then move forward and then dash attack. But, you did learn from your mistake over in Kanunu, and you did buy a new unit to help keep the city alive. Good job, you're learning. Then this guy decided to use the bomber to hit the nearby giant. What are you doing? You idiot. You idiot. Don't do that. That is the quickest way to kill your bomber so fast, and that is not what you want. A bomber is not disposable. You cannot be treating a high price unit like a bomber as something that you can just melee. I know that a bomber has a range of 3, and that means it could attack any square, but a bomber should never ever attack any of the squares in the 8 squares around it unless you know it is going to kill. Instead, attack this space. This space is 1, 2, 3 units away, so it's in range. You hit this Juggernaut, this Juggernaut, this Juggernaut, and this Rider, which means that this Rider, when he gets into the water and charges at you, is gonna be weaker, and that's less of a threat to think about. And you deal the most amount of damage for your bomber. Good. Excellent. 10 out of 10. Then you get really, really close to hurting this guy. Buy another warrior, move a warrior down. Pretty good, but you've got no capability of putting any units in the water over here, except, I'll be honest, not that much matters, because you don't have the money for a water invasion. I hold the water, because of my juggernauts. Let's continue to watch this fire burn. Honestly, evil, just gotta say, if I move over here, evil play from me to kill with a rider that's off in the fog. That's an evil play. But the reason why I do something like this is because it means that I get to do whatever I want with these juggernauts. And I do. I go to town. I move all the juggernauts in on your capital, and that's a problem. That's a big problem. So what is your response? You kill, that's kind of a standard move. You buy. You heal? I'll be honest. I don't know why you're healing. This unit is still in the front line. This Juggernaut can move here and hurt this unit. This Juggernaut can kill this unit and move and hurt this unit. This Juggernaut can move here and hurt this unit. This raft. 1, 2, 3. That is 3 spaces. That is the speed of a rammer, and a rammer has dash. This unit can attack after moving if there is an enemy in range. That means that I can take this unit, upgrade it into a rammer, go 1, 2, 3, dash, kill. And that does kill even a healed unit. So this unit is not in the back line and should not be healing. Instead, you should be fighting the Juggernaut, getting every last bit of value you can out of this warrior. Especially since you've got 3 warriors in the back, and you need to make sure that you have the extra space. And so this guy should be fighting, even if he dies. Move a unit up, move another unit up, that's pretty standard stuff. Okay, let's watch how this burns. Okay, I'll be honest, I think this is a bit of a misplay by me. I'm just gonna quickly... I've got a little bit of damage there. Does that kill? I don't know how to calculate that. I don't know if moving the Juggernaut here would have killed, I don't actually know if I can, with these Juggernauts, get this city without investing this raft into a scout to run in and get the hit off. But it is a thing that I decided to do, and I'm on your capital now. GG.